Howdy, folks. This is just a reminder that if you like this content, you can help me out by liking, commenting, and especially by subscribing. And be sure to hit the bell notification so you always get notified whenever I have a new video. Hope you enjoy this. Luisa C says, "What does fasting for Lent look like? Are we called to fast all 40 days? What can we eat when we fast? I've heard only bread and water." Okay, so there is a considerable amount of diversity in Catholic fasting practices. And I can only address the ones that pertain in the Latin rite of the Catholic Church, because that's the one whose law I know the best. In some of the Eastern rites, they have other laws for fasting. They tend to be stricter in some Eastern Catholic rites than in the Latin rite, but it's the Latin rite that I know the best, and it's the one that's the majority rite, not the only rite, but the majority rite here in America. So it's the one whose law I can describe for you. In the Latin rite, the law is extremely minimal when it comes to fasting. We are required to fast on 2 days of the year: Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Those are the only 2 days where a fast is required. And it is the most minimal fast you can imagine. What the law says is we are allowed to eat one full meal. So right now we're talking quantity of food. We'll get to quality or kind of food in a minute. But in terms of quantity of food, the fast that is required on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday allows you to eat one full meal and some food twice a day. That's here in the United States. Now, the quantity of some food is obviously less than a full meal, because the law says one full meal. So these two occasions of some food are obviously less than a full meal. But exactly what that is undefined in the law. You will hear some well-meaning do-gooders who are not very well informed on the law try to helpfully add bits that are not in the law, like the some food you can have twice a day can't add up to a second meal. Okay, no, that is not what the law says. And you even have some people in bishops' offices thinking that and putting it out on their websites, but that is not what the law says. They're going beyond the law if they say that. What the law says is one full meal and some food twice a day. So the problem with this calculated as not adding up to a second meal, not only does it go beyond what the law requires and imposes a new burden on people, but it's impossible to calculate that because people eat different meals of different sizes at different times of the day. I know what one full meal is for me, but meal sizes change. And how do you measure it in terms of volume, in terms of calories? This gets you into an endless nightmare of scrupulosity if you try to calculate things that are not meant to be calculated. So just forget the adds up to something. You get to eat, I would put it this way, you get to eat one full meal and two snacks. Snacks can be large or small. It's not a full meal. It's just a snack is just something less than a full meal. So I would say one full meal, two snacks. That's a pretty minimal fast. Now, in terms of now, I also mentioned that's the United States. Other countries may have their own fasting requirements. But here in the U.S., just Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Then there's the quality of food issue, or what kind of food can you have? In the Latin rite of the church, you can have to abstain from meat, and that's the only thing we're really required to abstain from. Meat is understood to be the flesh of basically of land animals. It doesn't include fish. Fish is a different category in Latin. Carne is the word for meat, and fish is like its own thing in Latin. And so it doesn't include fish. There are also a whole bunch of exceptions here. Like what if it's an aquatic mammal like a capybara? Well, if you're living in Brazil where they have capybaras, you can actually have them. Or muskrat in the northern United States, another aquatic mammal, you can actually technically have that. But the general principle is you're not supposed to have meat. You can have animal fat because animal fat is not meat. So you can have lard. That's fine. You can have soups made with meat. It's just made with meat. It's not substantially meat itself. You can have eggs, you can have cheese, you can have milk products, you can have all those things. The only thing you're not supposed to have is meat of land animals itself. And even then, there's some exceptions. If you want the details on all this, go to my personal website, jimmyakin.com. And up at the top, there will be a popular posts section, a get started section that has popular posts. And one of them is the annual Lent fight. Because back in the day, every year we'd have a big fight every Lent because people wanted to fight about all the details of what the law does and does not require. And so I gathered them all up and made a handy dandy resource for you. In any event, that's all that's required. We're not required to fast on all 40 days. You can eat anything you want. It doesn't have to be bread and water. You can have all this other stuff. Just don't eat meat on Ash Wednesday or Good Friday. We're also called to abstain from meat on the Fridays of Lent, but that's not a fast. That's abstinence. So you can eat as much as you want on the Fridays of Lent, but you just can't eat meat on those days. So that's a general sketch of the law. Now, you can go, as I indicated, it's pretty darn minimal, but you can, for your own devotional reasons, you can go beyond the minimum. You can do more fasting. You can restrict yourself to bread and water if you want. The thing I would say is you want to make sure if you undertake additional spiritual disciplines that you have someone helping you monitor the situation if it's causing any significant impact on you, because we don't want to undertake voluntary practices that are going to injure us or that are going to, we're going to resent them so much that it doesn't help us grow closer to God, because the point is growing closer to God. And if your self-denial is not helping you do that, then you need to revise that strategy. So it helps to have a spiritual director or at least a family member who you can kind of check in with, or who can check in with you and say, how's it going? If you're undertaking any kind of significant spiritual discipline, like I'm going to fast every day for 40 days on bread and water. Okay. That's pretty significant. How's that going to affect your health? Are you a diabetic? Is eating a diet of exclusively carbohydrate laden bread going to spike your glucose? Is that going to cause problems? Are you going to get nutrient deficiencies in that time? There's a bunch of things that can go wrong. So, or maybe you just get so sick of bread that by the end of it, it's not helping you grow closer to God. So it's helpful if you're going to undertake any kind of significant spiritual discipline that you have a study buddy who can help check in and make sure that it's going the way it should. And before we go, just one more reminder that if you like what you've watched, you can help me out by liking, commenting, and especially by subscribing. I'm trying to grow my channel, and I'd really appreciate your help. Thank you, and God bless you.